3, 2, 1.
We're on.
We're back downstairs.
We're back down in the studio.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's been a long time. It's been at least 2 months, I reckon.
What, since you've been down here?
Since we've been down here, yeah.
Really?
Because we've missed quite a few. We've missed like 2 weeks already, the last 2 weeks. And we did our millionaire episode.
Yeah.
And we did our fucking Amigo episode.
Yeah.
And we're back downstairs and we're guested up to fuck.
We're guested
it's
up.
my absolute pleasure to welcome the very lovely Toni Sherry. Thank you for coming on Wormholes.
Thank you for having me.
We've been trying to get you on for quite some time now. We've had some scheduling conflicts and delays and whatnot else, but we wanted to get you on. You are a very good old friend of mine. We've been friends, it's got to be getting close to 15 years or something now.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we would have met at Parallel Yard 12, which is where we went to school. You were 1 or 2 years younger than me? 2 years younger, 2 years below me, but you were friends with all the older kids because you were just such a legend. You lived near me as well. So you were tucked into the back there. Is Mum still?
Yeah,
Mum
she's
still there?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that was a cool. We had some very good parties at that house as well.
We did.
Let's start with a good story, right?
All right, wait. Which story are we going to start with? Because we've run through a few already.
I know, but we're going to go to one that definitely hasn't been told.
Definitely hasn't been told. Have you? Are you involved in this one?
It's at her house.
Okay.
It's at her house.
That makes sense.
Do you remember Parisi smashing the lattice thing at the back of your house?
Oh my God, my parents were so mad.
Yeah, so like they've got this beautiful like outdoor entertaining area.
Yeah.
You know those like wooden lattices, like the crisscross? I think you've even got some out there.
Yeah,
like the lattice. And I don't know whether he headbutted it or just...
I think he just like punched it.
Yeah, just like being a fucking absolute monster man that he is.
Yeah. Was it just lattice destruction, was it?
Just lattice
Utter lattice destruction?
Utter lattice destruction.
Oh, no.
ULD, a bit of ULD.
Little ULD.
We were drinking...
From the UDL.
Drinking UDLs and doing ULDs.
Fuck yeah.
And I remember you were just like, you pieces of shit.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. We were... Was that your 16th, I reckon that was?
I reckon it was my 17th.
17th.
But
Who has a
I
17th,
reckon...
by the way?
Well, me, obviously.
17th.
Anytime's for a party, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think we only repaired that like maybe a couple of years ago.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Just one of those things that was too...
Just never got
it was
done.
too raw.
Yeah.
Just like, no, not
Too
doing
much
that
lattice
again.
damage.
But yeah, we had some... That was such a good area to have parties in. Out the back of that little house there. Did you have... So... Because there's definitely two that come to mind at that house. So did you have your 17th and 18th then maybe?
Yeah.
Is that where you did your 18th as well?
Yeah, I did have my 18th. It was a winter wonderland.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember
That sounds like a fun party.
Yeah, it was good.
That's amazing. I found photos the other day of a certain someone who we're not going to talk about's going away party where we were all dressed up though. And that was
yes.
in terms of the dress up effort was amazing. And I found a photo of I went as a nerd and like had like my shirt tucked in and the pens on my and I found those like cool nerd glasses. And then the two mates that I went with, Levi and Priest, both went in Thomas More uniform and went as like a soccer player and a fucking school kid. I was like, no effort here. You literally had it in your wardrobe already.
Yeah.
You literally didn't even
Come on, man.
put any effort in. What did you remember? Do you think you went as a cop? Did you go as a cop?
No, I was a cowgirl.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, cowgirl. Yeah.
There's actually, I need to dig them up because I was looking at my old computer the other day because I was getting it reformatted by
This is
Dad.
going to be dangerous. Old photos.
Some of the ones of me and you just so drunk and you're just like doing the like arm around like while someone takes a photo and back then the flash and like it was just so horrendous. You can see all of our like pimples on our face because we're just like young and but we're like I feel like as someone who's got a son now then there's never gonna like because we had a lot of bad house parties and we were literally talking before we started something about me being shot at a party when I was 16 and you were at one where a good friend of ours ended up, being chopped with a machete and had to learn how to walk again. Like we saw some crazy shit. But for all of those bad ones, we had some fucking amazing ones as well. Like some of my best teenage memories are at house parties, especially ones where they kept it in our circle that we had. Do you know what I mean? So parents laid down the law. We're not going to have gate crashes or whatever else. Even my 16th. We had a couple of people go down and throw rocks at a roller door of a house. And like they were a friend of mine. Like we weren't like besties, but they were close enough. You know, I didn't have randoms coming into my party because Mum and Dad wouldn't let me. And I was just like, why are you going down and throwing rocks at a roller door? Like, what are you achieving? on the same street where the party is. Like, where are they going to think that's coming from?
Yeah.
And so then cops rock up at like 1 a.m. and they're like, yeah, we've got reports of people coming from this party, walking 3 houses down and throwing rocks at a roller door. I was like, at least do your crime 3 streets away.
First it's the lattice, and now it's a roller door.
Well, this
Sounds
was
like
girls.
any
No,
kind
it was
of breakable
girls too.
inanimate object.
It was girls leaving my party. The lattice thing was a full-blown male, but
Yeah.
This was girls leaving the party and going and throwing rocks at a roller
Rocks
door.
at the roller door, that's some fucking ghetto shit. Where are you guys from again? Is it Paralawi?
Oh, just because you grew up in Golden Grove, you just told me
What are
that
you
someone
fucking
got set
talking
on
about?
fire before we got on air.
Yeah, they did.
Tell us that story, Chris. What do you know
There
about
was
that?
not much to it. I just
Just
remember,
he got set on fire.
I just remember some shit going down, and he had a lighter and the deodorant can.
Oh, with that.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that's the story.
That's the story.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at a Golden Grove soccer club party, and we didn't go in. We were sitting in the car park waiting for someone who was meeting someone there, and I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
So we're just sitting in the car drinking. I remember that. And then I just remember like sitting there, and I think we had beats playing, and then like over the beats we just heard screams. I'm like, oh fucking, what's going on? And then we just saw people like running, and then so we were like, let's get the fuck out of here. So we didn't actually know what had happened.
Yeah.
We just left, and we're like, that was a bit weird.
Yeah.
And then on the news the next night, it was like, and it was so funny because I was with mum and dad, and they're like, a stabbing ruins, someone's 18th birthday party at Golden
true.
Grove, and then they showed the soccer club, like, and I was like, oh fuck, and I was there. And what made it so good was
That's
that
fucking
mum and dad
crazy.
were like, you don't go to parties like that, do you? And I was like,
Nah,
no.
man.
I'm like, hey, it's in Golden Grove. Why would I be all the way up there? I'm like, fuck.
Oh no.
If our parents knew some of the shit we got into,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Well, I think I may have said this on the podcast, but like the mum and dad only found out recently that, maybe about 8 or 9 years ago now, but I was drunk one night and I confessed to mum that in year 11, I told her that I was staying at Levi's house, and he told his mum that he was staying at my
the
house.
classic.
And then
That's such a classic.
Then we went to schoolies. So we drove all the way to Victor Harbour.
Yeah.
And then, I think I've told this, but yeah, we got back from Victor Harbour, and he was getting money out the ATM at the Coles, and when he locked his car, somehow that set the Coles alarm off.
Yeah, fucking.
So then we're getting interviewed by police because we stayed because we were like, didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
We didn't want to look like we were running away from the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
So then cops are like full interrogating us, like, well, how did the alarm go off? And we're trying to explain to him, we locked the car and that set it off, which sounds like the biggest lie of all time.
Yeah.
Even though it was what had happened.
Did they search the car?
No, they just they took our details down and whatever else, and we're like, what if that gets back to mum and dad? Like, why are we here at this time? And,
Just went for a cruise.
craziness.
Went for a cruise.
So yeah,
Big
that
cruise.
was,
Went for a cruise.
But if Winston ever did that to me, if I found out that he told me he was staying at his mate's house and then fucked off to Victor Harbour,
Yeah.
I would lose my goddamn mind.
Really?
I can totally
Oh,
see
wouldn't
why.
I be like, yeah, okay, fair enough. You got to do what you got to do.
It's when you have a kid, it's a whole different ballgame. Like you're constantly worried about.
Yeah, but don't forget, that's going to be when he's 16, 17, 18, right? He's only like 4 now. So,
Yeah, I know.
you know what I mean? Like, he's going to be an absolute tank by the time he's...
Still don't know if I want him down at Victor Harbour when I think he's at Paraffin Gardens where Mum thought I was that night.
True.
All
All right, should we bring this into modern day
Modern
times now?
Yeah, we stop talking shit stories. Well, obviously, one more story that I wanted to talk about.
Okay, one more story, and then I want to ask her about what she does.
Okay, all right. Well, you're going to get nostalgic, all right?
Okay, all right, we'll get nostalgic
People
for
get to know the person she was before she knows the person.
Yeah, before we're ready to meet, yeah.
Because then anyone can listen, right, and they can go, wow, I can still be a piece of shit right now, and then look where I can end up, right? That's what it's about. That's what they've learned
saying
from
I used
us.
to be a piece of shit.
We were, all right?
We were, let's be real.
At least you can admit it. At least
That's right. That's what makes the where we're at now so amazing,
Absolutely.
right? No one wants the kid who didn't do anything fun or whatever to succeed. Like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
gonna have the stories.
Yeah.
But one of my favourites of all time of our drunken debaucheries together was we used to go and have bonfires at Tennyson Beach.
They were the best.
We chose Tennyson because there's the hill. So obviously a lot of the other beaches, people can just drive past and see what you're doing. But Tennyson, you got to go over the massive hill.
It's effort.
It's always empty, and so people could just have to go onto the beach to see that you're having a bonfire. And we had them every weekend for like
All summer.
all summer for a couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
And this one time, we were all sitting there having a bonfire, And then we started seeing this helicopter coming over, and we were so naive that we were like, oh wow, that helicopter's flying really low. Like, how cool. And then it shined its big like fucking torch on us.
Spotlight on you.
And then started doing like the megaphone thing, being like, it's a total fire ban. What you're doing is illegal. You need to disperse now before we like dispatch vehicles to the beach. And we were like, 16.
Yeah, you would have been like, you leg it by phone
so
calls.
we also kick and stand onto the fire and grabbing our drinks and whatever else.
Oh, no.
And then obviously once you kick the fire out, it's pitch black. It's not a beach with the lights and whatever else.
It's just a helicopter and a spotlight. That's all it is.
Yeah. And that spotlight's directly down it, but we're now scattered off in other directions.
Yeah.
And there's obviously along Tennyson Beach, there's one pathway, but then either side of the pathway, all the shrubbery area is like fenced off by like pieces of wire.
Oh.
And so our good friend Toni here, who is at a full sprint, has obviously gone just to the side of the path instead of the path and coat hangered herself like
on
and
the barbed wire
into another species. It was like literally got her so bad. Like I can picture it in my head still. I can't imagine what it was like.
Was it barbed wire?
Talk us through your experience.
No, it wasn't.
No, it's not barbed wire.
No,
oh, thank God.
It was just wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, not one of my finest moments.
Were you like messed up from that for like a few days? Like
I had bruising all along my legs, like 3 lines.
Oh,
it was so painful, and I was so scared because the helicopter was right there.
Yeah.
So trying to pick myself up, run away, and then I remember like pushing myself up against a shrub while this big beam from the helicopter came directly on me, and I was like, I'm done. You've got me. Yeah. I'm in pain. I'm drunk. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Isn't that just crazy, this stupid shit that we used to do?
And I feel like when we finally got to the cars, there was cops coming on road, and we were lucky to get away. But oh my God.
That's just some insane shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was a guy that we knew, not a close friend, but one of the bonfires that we had, he thought it would be a good idea to like get up speed and then try and roll over the fire. Like he thought that he was going to be able to hit the fire at enough speed while barrel rolling that he wouldn't burn himself. Ends up with 3rd-degree burns and needing to get like skin grafts and shit. Like
Who was that?
Josh Turner. I shouldn't. Maybe we'll bleep his name out.
You're gonna make me do all this work and find this particular bit.
Well, I've just
to bleep out this man's name.
Bleep out this man's name. Timestamp 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Okay.
Thanks. Now that you've made a big deal about it, it'll be easy for me to find.
There you go. You'll be able to go back and find it. But yeah, like you said before, when you think you're invincible as a teenager, it's amazing what you will convince yourself to do. But enough about the past. We've got you on here, obviously, to get a little bit nostalgic, but also talk about what you've been up to since getting clotheslined by fences and getting drunk on Pulse with me.
What have you been up to lately?
Nothing fun like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, nothing fun like that.
Well, let's start first of all.
From what you were saying before, sounds like you've been having heaps of fun.
Well,
8 grams worth.
8 grams worth of fun. Well, we'll come to the because I think there's a fair bit there I want to talk about. But first and foremost, I think I want to talk about you as a business owner and a runner, and that's what you've been really doing. You've obviously got your own career as well. Well, I think you work for the government as well. Is that correct? Yeah. So, a woman of many talents. But let's talk about the cafe and obviously how that came about and what you've then tried to do through COVID. Talk us through the whole thing.
Yeah, so James and I actually moved to Queensland, London in 2016.
Wow.
We sold everything. I sold my car and we just traveled around the world. We were there for about maybe 10 months and then we came back and we had absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So we're like, we always talked about opening a cafe together. And the opportunity arose. It was really weird. It came about as soon as we got back from traveling overseas and we're like, well, let's just do it. We've got nothing else going for us right now. We sold everything. We quit our jobs. So that's how it started. It was really random. An opportunity came up.
That's so rad. Isn't that funny how the universe, at that time you'd just gotten back from overseas, you were like, I've got this new experience, this new outtake, and then you're like, all right, let's do it. Was there a place that was shutting down and you were like, we're going to buy it?
No.
Or?
So James's cousins, they opened a couple of cafes. They had 3 and they were looking to sell. And James had actually worked there in the past and it was a beautiful establishment and it was so us.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's get it. We've always talked about getting a cafe. So we did it.
That's rad.
Yeah,
You
5 years later.
You're still there now?
So it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years this year.
And plug the name again.
Yeah, what's it called? Plug the name.
Hibernia Cafe.
Hibernia. Now, I still haven't been there.
Where is that?
It's in McGill in the eastern suburbs.
Perfect.
By the foothills.
All right, I'm going to have to come down and suss it out.
go get breakfast and then hit
You
Mariota.
have to try the KFC halloumi. That's one of our specialties.
KFC halloumi. All right, I'm
really
down
good.
there.
Let's do it. We'll grab Erica and the gang and we'll go do a brekkie date down there.
I would love that. I would love that. What time do you guys open on weekends?
8:30.
Oh,
yeah, let's do it. When Erica's got a day off, let's
Yeah.
fucking. I've been meaning to go down there for ages. I just haven't had a chance. But for all, from everything that I've heard from everyone, it is absolutely incredible. So,
Thank
and
you.
the look, everything that I've seen from the photos and that, you've done such a great job. So,
Yeah, thank
and how did you guys go through COVID? Obviously, I know that you ended up venturing off and doing something a little bit different through that time to keep yourself going.
Yeah, COVID has been really difficult. I mean, we're still seeing the effects of COVID today. But we've just done our best to adapt. And in the beginning of COVID, when we were hit quite badly, we decided to pivot our business and we opened up Sherry Baby Burger Co. And that was an absolute hit, which was amazing. We got interviewed, I think, by Glam Adelaide. That got us a lot of exposure. And on our first night, we sold out within an hour and a half.
That's rad.
Yeah.
So what is that? What is that then?
It was like a sister business to the cafe. So
Yeah.
we operated from the cafe.
Okay.
And just because the thing is, we're like, oh, if we do Uber Eats, that's cool, but no one's going to want eggs, like, Uber to their house.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense. So we're like, how can we pivot and adapt to COVID? Predominantly focus on dinner time, burgers.
Yeah.
And we've always, thought about, we might do like burgers or pizza, do tapas nights. And I think we were up until like 3 a.m. one night stressing. We're like, we've put so much hard work into this cafe. We're not just ready to throw in the towel.
Well, I imagine the restrictions and government letters and notes and shit that you have to deal with would have been chaotic.
The hardest thing is it changed daily.
Yeah,
There's no consistency.
How are you supposed to know? And then them going, if a patron comes in and they're not doing what we say on this particular day, you get the fine.
Yeah.
I think that's absolute bullshit.
Oh yeah, it's so stressful because you're just gonna have defiant people like even ourselves,
like us,
coming in, and then you're having to then change your stance because you're trying to protect your business and yourselves, even though you kind of agree with the person that's defying the that's such a shit place to be in.
It is. It's hard for small business. It's considerably
And did you get any support from the government, or were they not?
Yeah,
really?
we did. Honestly, that has been our biggest help.
Yeah, okay. Well,
there were
that's
only
good.
small grants, but
Still,
that is what
better
kept us
than nothing.
afloat because our sales, our turnover dropped by, I think, 70% at some point. And
That's crazy.
when you have overheads, you have rent you still have to pay.
Yeah.
Our landlords.
And you didn't want to like stop paying your staff, or you know what I mean? Like it's all that kind of stuff that people don't think about. Hey.
Yeah.
And even now you've got roadworks going on. So like
It never ends with a business. It's
Oh,
one thing after
you
another.
knew McGill Road, are you?
Yeah, we're on McGill Road. Yeah.
Oh, that intersection's been absolutely chaos, eh?
Yeah.
Well, now you know where to get a coffee from in
Yeah.
that chaos. Go
Yeah.
find Hibernia and grab yourself a nice
Get
cup of
down
Java.
there.
How's
Yeah.
the coffee? That's the only thing.
Yeah,
I
how's
find
the
as much
coffee
as
down
food
there?
is important.
I didn't mean to
but-
toot my own horn, but of course it's good.
Of course. what kind of roast do you normally lean to? Like a dark roast or a?
We've got a range, a different range.
Yeah,
but
but
we
you
use-
personally.
Oh, for me personally,
Yeah.
this sounds really bad. I like instant coffee.
Really?
A cafe owner.
Really?
I like instant coffee.
Podcast is done. Thanks for coming. Absolute pleasure.
If International
It's
Roast
too
want to hit her
strong
up
for
and.
me.
That's the hood
yeah.
coming out. And you're
Yeah,
like,
that's it. eh?
Give me the international roast.
I know, it's
styrofoam cup.
embarrassing. Yeah.
What instant at least? Are you at least Makona?
I do like Makona caramel flavour.
Yeah,
But
okay,
I don't like
That-
international.
International Roast.
It's so weak. I'm like, this is good.
Is that just because the fam had it growing up? So that's just
I think
like
so.
what
Maybe
you're-
it's just
Yes, the nostalgia, once again.
Yeah.
It's the nostalgia of
Erica's mum
international. Roast.
smashes Blend 43.
Really?
Like it's going out of fashion. Just loves a few cups of
Yeah,
of
right.
43 beans
Interesting.
throughout her day, and I'm like,
Interesting.
I'm such a coffee snob now as well.
Yeah, you got to be, man.
If it's not made,
Yeah.
and so because I now have my like long black, ice long black with a dash of milk. That's
Perfect.
every single time.
Perfect. How many sugars?
And if that none, that's what
No
I mean. I'm like,
sugars.
I want that raw fucking coffee taste.
If it's good coffee
deep
done
throating
right, you don't need sugar.
No.
But that is quite rare.
Well, the problem is that that's the thing is that when you're going for, I want as much of the taste of the coffee as possible.
Yeah.
When they make it shit, when they burn it, whatever.
Yeah.
and the big thing for me as well is because I only like a dash of milk, so I can't drink a full latte where it's like the coffee.
Oh hell no! You just need a little bit of milk. Otherwise
you just fuck that up. I'm like, it's called a dash, not half a cup, not 4 splashes,
not a quarter of a cup.
Just give me the fucking, just a little bit, just to take the.
Just tease the milk. Just tease it in.
So yeah, I'm a full coffee snob now. So I'll be coming down there and making sure that you make it. No, I won't.
So how much is an international roast at the cafe? You should offer it.
No way, James would kill me. He's like, no way.
A little sign come out the back if you want an international roast.
Yeah, it's got like little signs pointing around the back with like international roast signs.
But interestingly enough, I did quit coffee for about 5 months, and I've only just started to have some again.
Okay. What was the decision behind that?
I just felt like it was really acidic, and I had quite bad anxiety at the time, and it just was not helping my anxiety.
Yeah.
And I felt really
I wouldn't
good
want
coming
anyone
off
to
it.
find out I was drinking international roast either. That would create a bit of anxiety.
Yeah, that too.
I have heard people say that is one of the hardest things to get rid of. Like I've got a mate at the moment who has been, I think he's been alcohol free for 12 years.
Amazing.
Because he had a really bad problem with it, and he's just tried to quit coffee as well. And he's like, these headaches are worse than what I had when I was coming off the piss. And he was obviously a big drinker, like every day for a long time. And he's like, and obviously it's one of those things, you know, you probably don't remember how bad it actually was, but just the way he was like, the headaches I've got coming off of caffeine at least rivals what I felt when I gave up alcohol all those years ago.
But it's just so good.
It is so good.
It's just so good.
It's that argument as well. It comes from nature.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Depends on, I guess, what they're also putting in there, but
that's it. So you moved away from the cafe and you started your burger stuff. So how does now your personal stuff with this breathwork come into it?
Yeah, well, that's completely separate.
Yep.
I decided to do breathwork, I think maybe 1.5 years ago. I started to study that. I always intended to do that more as a self-development.
Yeah, okay.
And then I got to the very end of my course and I just thought this work is far too powerful to not share with others. So yeah, I do the cafe stuff. I do all the back end. James helps me with that as well. So yeah, I do my breath work on some weeknights, on weekends. I'm currently working on workshops.
So you just do that from home?
Yeah, I do it from home. I have a healing room in my house.
That's so good.
So, and we'll get into my journey that I went on recently, but so you're working full time still.
Yes.
For the government.
The government.
We love them
We
on the
love the
podcast.
government.
You're also helping out at the cafe.
Yeah.
And then you're also doing the breathwork stuff as well.
Yeah.
How do you
Flat
have time to come on the podcast or think? That is crazy.
Yeah, time management is key, I think. And I'm also studying at the moment as well. So just to throw another spanner in the works.
Yeah, right. What are you
Just
studying?
me like doing a comedy gig every few
Yeah,
weeks
and you're
doing
like,
a
fuck.
podcast and being like,
I'm busy. I'm so
just
tired. What are you studying then?
Bachelor of Health Science, majoring in naturopathy.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So you really want to try and take the breath work and that kind of more spiritual stuff to the level for you, and then leave the cafe to your partner, or?
Yeah, well, I'll always help him, and we're in partnership with that. And I think we may consider to expand in the hospitality industry in other avenues.
Yep.
But my real passion is being of service to others, healing, doing that real inner work.
Yeah,
so,
that's cool.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to continue with my breath work and see where that takes me. My study as well. I'm all about holistic practices and
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about your journey with breathwork, right? Because I think it's quite amazing, and it's something that I took a lot from, just even hearing how you found it and everything that's led you to the point of now having a room in your house. And again, we'll talk shortly about how you had me in for a session recently. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about how you discovered it and the journey from going through your first session and why, and the things that you took it out of it, right through to you now doing it for others.
Yeah, sure. So I first heard about breathwork from my good friend Coco. So she's this amazing woman who is wise beyond her years. So whatever she recommends, it's amazing. So she rang me one day and she's like, you have to try this breathwork. It is incredible. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, give me the details. I'll try it out. And about a year passed and I ended up having a fight with James. I think it was over something really silly. And I was just at this point where I'm like, I need to do something. I just feel like my life's just not aligning at all. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to try that breath work that my friend recommended. So I went and tried breathwork, and it was so profound for me. I just really went inward and saw the issues that I was having in my relationship were actually me deflecting my own insecurities onto the relationship.
Yeah, interesting.
And it was just insane. And from that point onwards, our relationship completely changed. And I completely changed as well. And that was from one session. But that one session, it was really intense physically. So I experienced tetany. And what tetany is, it's when you hold a lot of fear in your body and your hand, your feet, like your body seizes. And it's really physically painful. Yeah, okay. And I couldn't seem to breathe through it. So I spent the entire session with my hands in like these fists. And I was like, I can't open my hands. And my teacher was just like, just breathe through it, breathe through it. I'm like, I can't, it's so painful. So anyway, I ended up, after my breathwork session, for a week afterwards, I had pains in my hands and my calves, because it was like, you know, like how you get like a really bad cramp, and then you just have the worst pain for like the next couple of days. That's what it was like. Yep. And I just thought, you know, that was amazing, but I'm never doing that again. Yeah. Because that was just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's funny, just very quickly, after I was telling people about my session, 2 different individual people that I told who'd obviously gone through it or knew about it was like, oh, did your hands like cramp? And it was so, you were telling me about
it's
how
a really common thing,
and that
I wonder why it manifests in the hands.
Well, you've explained that well. So it's like, what did you say again about?
Well, essentially, it's just fear that's held in the body, and the most affected parts of your body are your hands.
No shit.
And it can be your feet as well, but predominantly hands.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing that happens, but that's when you know you're kind of riddled with fear.
Yeah.
But after my first breath work, my second I had a little bit, but now I don't get any. So
that's good.
It does get better.
So are you getting someone else to do these to you, and then you're then going to do it for other people? Or?
Yeah, so my first breathwork session was done from my breathworker, who's my teacher and who I did my training with. So I had my first breathwork session. About a year later, I went and had another breathwork session. I think it was in 2020. So my breathwork journey wasn't kind of straightforward. It was a bit all over the place. I went and saw her for that session, and she's like, I'm actually doing some training. Did you want to sign up? And I was like, yeah, like I'd love to sign up. So I signed up, did the training, and a year and a half later, here I am, and I'm now guiding people through their own breathwork sessions. So
oh shit, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That is
that's so
amazing.
cool. So it's obviously it was a really powerful experience for you, to the point where you're like, I feel like on my journey that I want to help people, I want to do this too.
Yeah.
Now, somatic breathwork.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the different types, what would you say like variates this to the other ones like?
Yeah. So somatic breathwork is essentially a 2-part breath, where the inhale and exhale is all connected and you have no pause in between.
Oh, okay.
And through the breath, the nervous system essentially goes into this altered state of consciousness, and then that's where we can access stored emotions, energies, and traumas, and access them, release them, and heal them. And that's just through breath work. So that's somatic. Holotrophic, also known as the growth breath, is very similar to the somatic breathwork technique. However, it is far more intense and fast-paced.
Okay.
And with the growth breath, you are actually doing the breathing to a very specific kind of music. So it's for those who really want to go as deep as possible in breath work and are ready for those crazy breakthroughs, profound breakthroughs.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
what is the music type? Because obviously we've talked a little bit about like binaural beats and stuff in meditation.
Yeah.
What's the stuff they use for the health?
It's really hard to explain. It's all kinds, but it's true, like beats of the music, and it goes through different phases in the music, and it's just crazy where your breath takes you with that music. It's really hard to explain the kind of music.
So do you reckon, is it somewhat similar to regression therapy? Or is that more like hypnosis?
I would say it's more like hypnosis.
Right. Because I haven't actually really looked into it. I've just heard about like a lot of people doing regression therapy and like healing those deep traumas as well. Yeah. So I didn't know whether they were in the same kind of category or...
It's definitely healing. But I don't think it's about really the breath. It's more so that hypnosis where you're taken back into your childhood or to certain events that were quite traumatic and healing from them.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted you to talk about as well, because obviously we love a good conspiracy theory on here now. Part of the reason you went back and did your next session was that you started to go through a bit of awakening to how fucked up this world is in uncertain words, I guess. And so you obviously had that first session, had the really intense experience, but also the pain and that as well. So you were kind of like, cool, had my moment doing that, I'm probably done with it now. But then going through the sort of awakening with the world, that actually led you to go back and do it again. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, correct. So 2020, I'd just been married, COVID hit, and I kind of just got in this really dark space.
As you would, because you've just like, you're supposed to be on your honeymoon, you're supposed to be hanging out, working.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I just started going down these rabbit holes of conspiracy theories. I kind of opened my eyes up to the whole child trafficking thing.
Like Pizzagate and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it was really like dark stuff.
Yeah, that is the darkest of dark. Like.
I heard the story about, like, this is probably really left field, but like Hillary Clinton like wearing some kid's face. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, that's the Anthony Wayne laptop stuff.
Yeah. I was like, there is
Frazzle drip, they call the video apparently.
Yeah, just insane. And at that time, Trump was bringing a lot of that to light. And like the whole Hollywood thing, I was just like, what kind of world am I living in? It is so evil. Yeah. And if this is actually happening, this is not the kind of world that I want to be in. And by no means have I ever been like suicidal, but I was just like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up. I felt really low on energy. Yeah. And I guess I lost faith in the world and humanity.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting is like I had the same thing. So I started researching and finding out about this stuff in like 2012. And like I originally started looking into like the spiritual side of it and like ancient cultures and how they all kind of like worship the pine cone and a lot of weird stuff like that. Yeah. And then like, which is like the pineal gland, and then that led to like 9/11 and all your classic kind of WikiLeaks, and it all just leads from there. And like, isn't it strange how everybody who wakes up said that they've had that kind of like, you know, dark night of the soul kind of experience where they're like, they find out really what the world actually is, and you just get fucking sad about it. Yeah. And then you go through that, once you come out of that, me personally anyway, went through that really like, you know what? Fuck it. I know what's going on. I'm going to fucking like use it to my advantage. And you get that inspired from it. Yeah. And
at the time, I didn't even realize it was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. Yeah. So I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like I didn't understand, and I didn't have people around me that had gone through anything similar. Yeah. So it was really isolating, and I just felt like I had nowhere to turn. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I had that as well. Like, you know, when I went through my awakening as well, I didn't have anyone that I knew other than like me, you, and my old housemate. We were the only people really that were flat out into it. Yeah. And everyone else, there was no one that I really knew that was hell into the stuff either. And then I was like so blown away by it, and I felt like the evidence, particularly with 9/11, was the big thing that got me to begin with. And I felt like the evidence was so compelling, so I wanted to tell everyone and get them. But then I was literally having conversations with brick walls and people were getting mad at me. Like, I had someone at work start yelling at me and being like, "You need to go to a state library." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm trying to tell you that even what they're writing in the books in that library is what they want you to read." And he's like, "You're a fucking lunatic." And that same feeling where I was like getting home from work in that time and being like, holy shit, like I'm actually alone in these thoughts of like, this is what the world's like. And if it's only us three out of every person that I know, which is hundreds and hundreds of people. And I guess where we talk about all the time, I guess what makes me a little bit more positive now is that it's a lot more of that percentage. If I look at everyone that I know now, I think that at least over 50, probably 70, 80% of them at least buy into a lot of the things that I think about, even if they're not as full-blown as I am. Yeah, of course. A lot of them can see the things that I think about, particularly with this fucking pandemic, and go, I think you're right about that kind of stuff. Whereas back in the time that you went through yours and mine was back in like 2016, it was so isolating and alone where you're like, and then you also, with the start of the Trump presidency was a big thing where I went like, you guys just fucking eat up whatever the TV tells you. Like that was always a thing that they talked about, like in, End of Days by Vinnie Paz. Who is it? Is it Terrence McKenna? No, it's David Icke at the end of it, and it's like where he says like, you're being controlled by an oblong box in the corner of the room, like whatever that tells you is what you believe in. And like I remember hearing that and being like, yeah. And then when the Trump presidency hit, it really like showed me that is true, like that there is like a mass hypnosis with whatever the newspaper, whatever your phone, like mainstream news says, whatever the TV says, people just go, that's 100% fact. Yeah. And anyone saying aside from that, and this pandemic has at least shown me that people can finally hit the brakes a bit and be like, well, hold on a fucking second, this kind of doesn't add up. And I think that's just because they've fucked it up so badly. I mean, if they maybe did a better job of you know, whatever it was that they've been trying to achieve, then maybe I'd still be as upset. But they haven't. They've fucking butchered the entire thing from the beginning of, oh, masks work, masks don't work, vaccines aren't going to be here, oh, now they're here, blah, 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 blah. So everyone's just gone, well, the narrative changes every day. How am I supposed to sit here and actually
people can't keep up in it. We were saying before, like, I've never been more fed up with anything in my life. Like, I'm actually that fed up with this whole situation that I've never been more fed up.
Yeah. Do you know, when I finished my ayahuasca retreat, I was driving home and I was like in this little bubble. I was driving home and I saw this person wearing a mask and I was just like, why are they wearing a mask? And I'm like, oh, we're still in this timeline. We're still doing that COVID shit. Like, I had totally forgotten that it was a thing.
No shit.
That it has been dragged on for so long.
Yeah. No, and it feels like they're just like clinging on to the final like thread.
Yeah. I think by the end of the year, we're going to see the end of it.
That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying to people. I think 2020, by the time 2024, 2025 rolls around, the world's going to be a very different place.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of people not wearing masks. I'm seeing a lot of people, like we've talked about this so many times, but every mainstream article now about mandates or whatever it is, everyone's just on the comments like, you guys have no fucking idea.
Yeah, get out of here with that shit.
You're going to want us to have jabs 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, it's just, and there's even some big comedians and that getting on the bandwagon now of calling it as they see it, which is important because a lot of those fucking left-leaning lunatics for ages have been making fun of us for speaking out. And there's still plenty of them that are, but I think you're right. And it's so obviously you went through that awakening and then you've gone back and gone, I'm going to go do breath work again to hopefully get me through this isolating feeling that I've had. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I went back to my teacher, Julie. I felt like I didn't have anyone to turn to. And I remember just going to her house and sitting on her couch and just breaking down in tears and going like, and she's like, you know, why are you here? You know why you're here? I'm like, I just want truth. Because I felt like everything that I was uncovering, it was all based on like lies and deceit. And I'm like, I just want truth. So we really worked with that in my session. And that was the first time that I had an out-of-body experience. I had actually left my body.
Very interesting. From the breath work?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Huh. And my teacher said that I had stopped breathing for about 3 minutes, which is normal. I've had clients do that before.
Yeah, right.
And generally when that happens, it means that you have left your body. Okay. And whether your guides or angels are kind of working on your physical body when you're in, some people can astral project. Yeah. I mean, I haven't done that personally.
Yeah, I've done it once in my life.
Yeah.
And I got scared shitless because I realized what was happening. Yeah. And I woke myself up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool that you experienced it though.
Yeah, it was quite strange. I only just basically was able to put my consciousness onto my floor of my bedroom.
Wow.
And then looked over to the window and I was like, I'm not in my body. And so I just get scared. And then I just was like, all right, I'm waking up now. I'm done with this. Quite odd. Quite odd.
Yeah. And how did you get to that? That was just through, was that through doing
meditation? So I had binaural beats.
So you weren't actually asleep, you were meditating?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I haven't done it since. It's been a long time. I haven't been into meditation as much recently. Probably should get back into it because I know quite often feel a bit more of a general sense of peace. Yeah. I guess it's been quite hard with the current state of the world when a lot of people or us as a collective are experiencing anxiety. Yep. So I'm finding it quite difficult to really totally shut my mind off when there's something over here happening and then you're finding out news about this and and it's been quite difficult.
Yeah.
I definitely need to come and do some breath work with you because I think that'd be good fun. Because you had such a powerful experience.
Yeah, I guess it's probably a good time to talk about that and then we'll finish up talking about, you mentioned very briefly your ayahuasca and I want to get into that and a couple of the other things that you've done very recently. But obviously we talked about having you on the podcast because I thought that you would have so much to offer and you're absolutely fucking smashing it. So thank you so much for coming on. But one of the things that you thought, well, I don't want to just come on and talk about this breath work. It would be good to have someone have the experience so that we can actually talk about it firsthand. And so I think it was about 4 weeks ago now, I reckon, that I came down to your house. It was the first time we've caught up in years, so long. So we ended up having to stop gas bagging to go and start the session. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. Obviously, I think I took to the breathing pretty well, obviously, which is something that some people you've mentioned that, can sometimes take a little while. Yeah. And I just didn't even know, the first thing that happens is that you start noticing a pulsating through your body as you start getting into it. And Obviously, she's talking you through how that, you know, you're just oxygenating your body and things like that. And then it starts to turn into like a really powerful vibration, like through your whole body. That's like, it's such a weird sensation of like both slightly uncomfortable, but also very comfortable.
So did your session have the music?
Yeah, you had some music playing, but it doesn't have particular music.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
General,
so you did the Somatic then?
Somatic, yeah.
Somatic,
right.
yeah.
I'm going to come back and do the other one.
You need to do holotropic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so then you start feeling like a very powerful vibration going through your whole body. And then I didn't realize, I thought that I was like, oh shit, I'm like falling asleep. That's what I thought was happening. But I was obviously like leaving my consciousness.
Yeah. You had stopped breathing quite a few
Yeah.
times actually.
No shit.
And I didn't even know. And then I come back and I'm like, oh shit, start breathing again. She's going to think you're doing a bad job. That's what I was thinking.
Oh no.
I didn't realise. So
You're
I would
such a
come
good
back
breather.
and I'd go, shit, get back into it. And I would just start doing it again.
But that's the point.
But there was moments in there, like the things that were really powerful for me was obviously like, I remember some of the things I was just like, I had this really intense feeling to start with that I was glad I was doing this. I felt like that this was such a cool thing to be doing. And I was kind of thinking of the bigger picture of like, you know, that I'm doing this because obviously, you know, the podcast, which made me reach out to you, and that the things that I'm doing with the podcast is really awesome, and all the cool guests that we've got to have. And, you know, then I started thinking about how, you know, I think this is something that my beautiful wife should be doing because I think that it would help her. And then I was thinking about how cool it was that me and you were catching up and talking about, you know, all of our good and bad friends and everything from the past. And I just was like overwhelmed with all of this really positive feeling. And then I started going in and out of consciousness and didn't sort of know what was happening. And I didn't really feel anything in particular. Like I was just in a bit of a dream state in that moment. And then obviously when I came out of the last one, when you sort of brought me back and said, okay, yep, and you're going to come back now. Obviously that was when I'd kind of stopped breathing for the longest amount of time, which saying stop breathing really sounds like so bad, but it didn't feel like that at all.
Because
like
your body's so flooded with oxygen, you
you know, so like it didn't matter. And then when I came back from that final one, it was just like, like colors were brighter, like the feeling that I had.
That's cool.
But what made it so hilarious, and I'm going to be so mindful of this time, is that I'm having this such an intensely awesome feeling.
He wasn't moaning, was he?
No. And so then Tony's like, here, rub this peppermint essential oil on your hands and breathe it in because it can really help just kind of re-ground you. And it was doing such a good job of that. But I drank a lot of water before the session started, so I needed to go and pee. And so like whilst I was having this great feeling, I was like, I need to go to the toilet so I can keep enjoying this feeling without the full bladder.
Yeah.
And I forgot to wash the peppermint oil off my hands as I've gone to do the business.
Oh, so I got
And because my whole body's tingling still, I'm still like, so then I'm like, I've done it, and then I'm washing my hands, I'm like, oh, wow, that's
extra breath downstairs.
I'm like, it's tingling everywhere, like even all the way, I'm like, wait, that's not a tingle. That's a burn. That's a real burn. That's burning so much. Oh my God. And then I'm like, why is it burning? Like, what's happening? And then I'm like, the fucking peppermint oil. And so then she can just hear me like yelling in the bathroom. She's thinking I'm like falling over or something.
Oh no.
And then I come out of the bathroom, I'm like, you don't have many male breathwork, you know, appointments. And she's like, I've had a few. Like, why do you ask? I'm like, because you need to tell people to wash the peppermint oil off there.
Oh no.
Sorry, that was my bad.
No, but
That's a rookie mistake on your behalf. Look, let's be real.
But the thing was, I was just
you were so frazzled out. You were so out of the fucking.
Yeah. I was still just like, I had no idea. Because again, you know, I've come in and out of consciousness like multiple times and then come back after that big wave, and I'm just like processing being a human being again.
Yeah.
So like that was the, you know, the safety of my genitalia in that moment was not in the forefront. It was
non-existent, bro.
But I just left just feeling so, and as I said, the first thing that I thought of was like, I can do that myself. I haven't done it yet. Because you mentioned, you were like, oh, I haven't really done it myself either. I've always focused on other people. And you've now since done it yourself, because I was like, I'm scared to do it because if you've not done it and you're the teacher, but you've now gone through it and actually just taken yourself through that process. Because it's not some, I guess, I don't know why in my head I built it up to be like, you know, 4 deep breaths, 2 short breaths, 7 medium breath. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to be
more
this,
fluid than that.
but
It is a different kind of breathing, and it is really, it's hard work.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
But you can get yourself into a rhythm. And I think that was not something that I knew was going to be. I thought that it was going to be like, you know, a section here, a section there, a section there. But because it was, and obviously, as I said, you know, for some people, if you're bringing up these anxieties and whatever else, it would be hard to focus on just the breathing. And I think, you know, I went into it with such a clear picture of what I wanted to get out of it and why I was there. So I was able to just block out all of that and focus on just the breathing. So yeah, it was like, wow, I could go home and do this myself. And I've thought about it like so many times since about
but actually setting it up and doing it.
Yeah, because it is a bit scary, because obviously I was like, and you know, obviously you were there to bring me back. So you're kind of like, what if I just stopped breathing and then didn't bring myself back or whatever.
Exactly.
So it's obviously, you know, it's probably good definitely for your first few times to go through
to
and
go,
have that,
get it guided.
to have that guided one. But yeah, it is, as I said before, for me, it was just the sheer incredible power of our breath was just the thing that I took away from it.
Yeah.
And I knew that, you know, that because we've focused so much on the mental health stuff on this podcast, and we talk to a lot of these really profound people, and that breath is something that seems to be what comes up a lot. You know, people talk about how the breathing techniques has helped them manage their anxiety, and breathing techniques has helped them be able to, you know, get off these ledges proverbially in their life.
Well, that's like the Wim Hof method. Have you heard like the Wim Hof guy?
Yeah.
I tried to do his thing where you like have the cold shower and you sit there and you do the 30 like heaps deep breaths, and then at the end you hold you let almost all of it out and you hold it for as long as you can.
Yeah.
And you got to like fight that reptile like instinct to like not like to take a big gasp until you like the longer you can hold it, the better kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like a similar application or?
Similar, yeah, but different. So the breathing that I teach, it's not just 30 breaths, so it's an hour of just breathing and intense breathing, I would say. Like, did you find it was like, hard work. So
you have to be really conscious on focusing on doing it, otherwise you're just naturally going to regress into like shorter breaths. So you're having to put a lot of effort into.
So it's very similar.
And this is something that you do laying down?
Laying down, but you can also do it sitting up. You can do it looking into a mirror. It's
interesting. I wonder if there's different effects if you're doing it like looking into a mirror per se, or like.
I was meant to do that on the last weekend of my training, but we never got around to that since I was spewing. But I've done in water breath work, so rebirthing in water.
Kind of like isolation tank.
Yeah, similar. But we were in a pool and we had this snorkel kit on and we did it, and I didn't really like it. Like my snorkel kept leaking, so it was a bit. But there are some people that had some. It actually makes you feel like you're in a womb. So this breath work, it's also called rebirthing breath work. So people can actually go back and relive their birth. And feel like they're in the womb.
Yeah, I guess because you're not water, touching anything.
It kind of.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that would be fucking crazy.
The power of it. So I'm excited now for you to go and have a session, and then we can do an episode ourselves and talk about your.
We've got to do a mental health mention soon.
We do. So maybe we should hold off and get you to go and do a breath work.
Do that, and then
come back and we'll do a mental health, and we'll be like, as you heard on the Toni Spectacular. We've now got our boy Tyes to go and do a breathwork session as well. And he washed the peppermint oil off before.
That's it.
I've actually started to rub it in my hands and just place it over my face.
I'm helping the development of the business.
You've changed our methodology, brothers. You've ruined the SOPs, man.
That is absolutely amazing. And as I said, I think, you know, it's something where you hear a lot about, the power of the breath and whatever. And I guess I always kind of, I knew that there was something there, but to be able to feel it that intensely myself. And as you said, but it cannot always be it's always a positive experience, but it can be quite a intense experience for some people as well. Like some people, it can bring up, traumatic experiences and I guess make them face that stuff and whatever else. Because I think, you know, that's the thing is that we get into very coasty places in our life, I think. And so any of these kinds of things where you're like forcing yourself to look inwards, and I guess we'll now segue into your stuff. So you've been really going hard on the spiritual journey stuff. You've not just been looking at the breathwork stuff. So what are some of the things you've been doing to just absolutely expand the mind and the horizons lately?
Well, as mentioned, I've done ayahuasca now, and in the lead up to the preparation of my ayahuasca journey, I did Cambo. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with what Cambo is.
No, I haven't heard that before.
It's essentially an Amazon frog, and it's kind of put it. They do it ethically.
Is it like ibogaine?
Pardon?
Is it like ibogaine? Is that what it is?
No.
No. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah. So they have to get the frog into an adrenaline state, I guess. But again, it's done ethically.
Yeah.
By the tribes in the Amazon, and they then, when the frog is scared or is in a state of heightened adrenaline, it kind of secretes this secretion. So that is what they scrape off the frog, and then they send it to Cambo facilitators, and then that's what is applied to the burn marks on the skin. And it's been used for hundreds of years for snake bites, to help with purging toxins, candida. It can help in curing some diseases. So it's some really powerful, when I say plant medicine, it's not really plant medicine because it's from a frog, but I essentially did it to clean my vessel out as much as possible.
That's cool.
Before ayahuasca.
That's so cool. So, so it's more of a physiological thing. It's not so much a trip per se.
No. So you don't hallucinate at all. You feel so sick and you throw up a lot. Oh. But in the time that so essentially what's happened, the burn marks are applied. They then apply the frog secretion, and like instantly you feel the medicine kind of running through your body, and you just get really, really hot, and it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it would be.
And in that time, you have to drink 2 liters of water. That was the hardest part, drinking 2 liters of water, and you just feel really, really ill.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting there. I'm like, okay, like I've got to down this water. I'm feeling so ill. And then I was like, do I need to be sick? And my facilitator, she was like, no, you got to keep drinking water. Kept drinking water, and then before I knew it, I was purging my guts up. Yeah. But it wasn't like a normal vomit. It was really different.
No shit.
So, but
How so?
It was very powerful.
Yeah. Okay.
And it didn't look like normal vomit. So mine was this is a bit gross.
That's all right. Like get into detail.
And that indicates that it was a lot of toxins were being removed from my kidneys.
Okay.
So and another symptom is your face swells so much. So I think I sent you the picture, Justin. I looked like I'd aged about 60 years.
Looked like a nana. Like
no shit.
Yeah.
This is crazy shit. Where are we doing this?
So one of my good friends is a facilitator, so we did it at her house.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It was actually legal here until someone actually sadly passed away, and it's now been banned here and I think Victoria. Okay. But I think she had underlying health issues. So again, it's another thing that they've banned, and there's really no evidence to suggest it's there's more benefits than there is. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Interesting. So did you then, when you went and had your ayahuasca trip, were you throwing up then as well?
Yeah, not in my first journey. So in my second journey, yes. So, but it's not like a normal vomit. So when you purge in ayahuasca, it's like an emotional release. So the release can come in forms of tears. It can come in forms of shaking, like uncontrollably your entire body. Wow. It can be vomiting. It can be pooing. It can be sweating. So it's any form of release. And in my second journey, when I did vomit, it was an emotional release. It wasn't like I felt sick and that I knew I had to get this energy out. It was a feeling that I've never had before.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So were you visually revisiting things, or was it more of like a mind frame?
Yeah, I had visions. Yep. In my first journey, I actually went back to a past life.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't like I was seeing myself. I was looking down at my body, and I was in a tribe in the Amazon.
No shit.
And I was in this hut dancing to this tribal music. I was barefoot on the earth. I looked down, and there was this massive flowing river, and I was just surrounded by all these trees. Wow. And it was only for a split second I experienced that, and then I came out of that. So I had past life visions. I re-saw stuff from my childhood. Yeah. I saw like sacred geometry.
Oh, nice.
Colors. I saw energy. But ayahuasca is interesting. So when you lay down and you close your eyes, and that's when you have a lot of your visions. So when you open your eyes, you kind of come out of your journey.
Okay,
so
interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And you did this here as well?
Yeah, I did that here.
Yeah, cool. At least you weren't too far. At least you didn't have to go to full South America.
I would have loved to have done that, but I did have a lot of fear around if something was to go wrong, I would be in a foreign country. So
At least you were somewhere that you felt a little bit more comfortable going through something so intense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was so held and supported, and that is the most important thing. And it's just crazy to think there were 20 other people there. There was one medicine woman, so she was a healer as well, another healer, and they were there for all of us. But everyone in that room said there was not one moment when they weren't held and supported when they were going through a hard process. So the medicine is very intelligent.
Yeah.
It doesn't create 3 people going through a hard process at the same time. It kind of happens in like a wave.
Flows,
Yeah, that's really cool.
So we're going on a Wormholes ayahuasca retreat or what?
We're gonna have to.
I think we're gonna, because that would be amazing to come back from that.
Yeah.
And just be like, right now we're recording this with no technology and we're doing it with like a cup and a string because we're so broken from traditional norms. That's it. No one's even going to be able to hear it, but we'll be having a fucking great time.
Yeah, so the active ingredient in ayahuasca is dimethyltryptamine, yeah? So that's what proper made you...
So it's actually, ayahuasca is a vine from the Amazon and is mixed with other like leaves and stuff. And I think it does potentially have that. I'm not entirely sure, but it creates that kind of DMT experience.
Yeah.
But obviously you're natural, being that it's from a plant.
Because we've both done DMT before, haven't we?
Yeah, but not from a plant.
No, ours was, what, you did synthetic stuff. I suppose I must have done synthetic stuff.
Because if it's not from the ayahuasca, I guess it's not synthetic per se, but it's
okay.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I went on a fucking journey.
But
I think I was telling you about it, like the craziest thing for me, and I'd never done anything, so I hadn't even done mushies. My mushies time came after the DMT, so DMT was my first ever experience.
Wow.
Yeah, that's deep. Balls deep.
But the only reason I did it is because I knew it was short-lived.
Yeah.
So the reason I was so fearful about doing other things was longevity. I didn't like the thought of being potentially out of control, and that's probably not the right word, but like going through an experience. Yeah. And plus, like, every one of my mates had bad trip stories. Like, no one had good ones for me back then.
Yeah.
Now that I'm getting older, people have great ones, but back then it was just like, I saw ants running all over me, and I guess a lot of them were probably acid, and so, but that was just the things that I could lean on about psychedelics was these, but so it just turned me off them. But then, I don't even remember who said it to me, but someone cooked as one time, years before this had happened, had said, you don't go looking for DMT, you let DMT find you.
It's true though.
And I was like, all right, dickhead. And then all of a sudden I'm at my mate's house, we're smoking bombs or whatever, and this guy who had like brought the weed around to us was like, oh guys, I got DMT, what do you want to do this afternoon? And like in my head I heard my other mate being like, don't go looking for DMT, let it find you.
Yeah.
But I was still like, no, like, and they were like, no, and then I was like, all right, you motherfuckers do it, and then I'll see if I want to do it. And when they were all okay after 20 minutes, I was like, I can handle that. Yeah. I'm strong enough in the old noggin, I can handle that. Yeah. But the biggest thing I said is because they were all kind of like, they were annoying each other while tripping because they were all going, whoa. But then the other person would be like, shut up. Like they wanted silence to go through that moment. So then when I said to them, I was like, I'm going to do this, but I need you to just fucking sit there in complete silence and just let me go through this journey. And then, all right, I'll do it. So I had the thing and I immediately got sucked out of the room.
Yeah.
And then, went through my journey. But the biggest thing for me was when I came back to myself, I was like, I just, this feeling of like everything is exactly where it's meant to be in the universe right now. So that's something I would like to do again. I think I would like to have that moment of just like, in that moment, someone could have told me that everyone I knew and loved was dead, and I would have been like, it's all a part of the universe.
Had
So
that bit of ego death kind of thing.
It was just a crazy thing. And how did you have, as you said, like you came out of it feeling like, oh shit, there's a pandemic and everything on. But what was, I guess, the biggest takeaways for you from your journey when you were, coming back to real life? Was that a hard adjustment after going through something so amazing, or was it just better, or what was your sort of experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I found it really hard. Like it felt like I was integrating back into the Matrix.
Yeah. Oh wow, that is such a
especially with the energy of the world now with COVID. So I came, from such a high, came off such a high, and then into this world where people are wearing masks and where I had totally forgotten about COVID. So it's like I'm trying to integrate back into this Matrix thing. Yeah. It just didn't feel natural. It didn't feel organic. But I would say my golden nuggets from my experience would have to be that I really got to go within. I mean, I have spent thousands of dollars on trying to do that inner work, and nothing has ever scraped the surface. So ever want to go and do the inner work, go do ayahuasca.
Wow.
But yeah, my golden nuggets would be revisiting a trauma that I had totally blocked out from when I was a child.
Wow.
And how that was impacting my life today, my behaviors, my relationships.
Piece together some puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you've been able to carry this through your whole life and
Yeah.
you didn't know this is causing all the...
Yeah,
right.
it was really profound.
Yeah.
And now that I remember, I can really focus on healing that and changing my life. And I'm not allowing some trauma to dictate my decisions and my life anymore.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. That's
really
so
profound.
absolutely incredible.
And Mother Aya said to me, because from the trauma that I went through, she said, you've been so disconnected from your body because it's been too painful for you to be in your body.
Yeah.
It's safe for you to be here now. So it's common that Mother Aya speaks to you during the medicine.
That's cool.
So after my second journey, I remember I went out and it was raining. I was barefoot on the ground. I just felt like the rain was cleansing me, taking away my pain. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I could be present. And I was like, wow,
so good.
this is what being present is. Yeah.
It's so hard for people to live in the present, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people are so worried about, all right, what am I going to do next week? Or what happened to me? What happened to me a week ago with this person or whatever, or COVID or whatever? And people are so caught up being either in the future or in the past, they can't live in the present.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right.
But it's really the only thing that actually exists.
Is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're here recording a fucking bomb-ass podcast.
damn
right.
right, damn right. So you were saying to me off air that you got 8 grams deep into psilocybin.
Oh, yeah, I did.
So
that's something that I did forget to mention as part of my spiritual journey. So that's something that I did back in, I think, July last year as, I guess, preparation for Cambo and Aya. And yeah, we did 8 grams each.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Why 8? Why did you just go,
fuck the recommended 2. Let's just go.
Because my good friend Lee, he is like the mushroom king. And he's like, no, 8 grams will be fine. I was like, oh, but it says a hero dose is 4 or 5 grams. I think he's like, no, you'll be fine. And honestly, it was exactly what we needed. But it was really, really hard. I felt like I had been strapped into a rocket ship and I had just been shot into space. The intensity of the come up was so scary. I was like, I've taken too much. Someone needs to take me to hospital. Yeah. And my husband was the same. But the thing was, we were feeding off of each other and it was actually very interesting. The mushrooms, it was almost teaching us, we were feeding off this negative energy off of each other, freaking out when really we just needed to surrender. Yeah. So there were so many hidden lessons in that 8 gram trip. And I'm super grateful for, but don't recommend.
You'd never do 8 again?
No, I don't think I would. It was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 would be maybe even 6, but
look,
never say never. But
we'll have her back on in 2 years. She's like, all right, 16.
Let me tell you about 16.
I actually know someone that has taken 20 grams.
Fucking hell,
yeah.
They're still alive.
Yeah, a week before they did Aya. He's amazing though.
That's crazy.
That's insane. 20 fucking grams.
Fucking hell, man.
That's another. That's so that's 12 more than what you did, and as you said, you were strapped to a rocket ship to the moon.
Yeah. My poor husband, he experienced the full ego death. And he was still struggling and for him at that point in time when we did mushrooms, he hadn't even started his spiritual awakening. It kind of just blew his mind, all this, knowledge and how much his mind expanded in such a short period of time. Yeah. He really struggled to integrate that for the 6 months after that. But now he's good.
Yeah, it's good.
And he's actually booked in to do ayahuasca with me in May, which is exciting.
Oh my God.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited to do it.
So in the last since COVID, he's kind of gone from nothing kind of thing to now wanting to do ayahuasca.
Yeah, I think I've definitely rubbed off on him in terms of the spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And how much I've grown and evolved.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's pretty much gone for he's always been very open-minded.
Yeah.
But not so much spiritual. So now he's trying new things and
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. We need
I'm
more of
proud
that.
of him. Yeah.
Isn't that so amazing? I think that's again you getting back to, I guess, a little bit of a conspiracy. No wonder they don't want this shit readily available to people when that's what it can achieve.
Spot on.
Death. They need people with maximum ego, maximum not living in the present, maximum focused on all the wrong shit. Yeah. And
I hate calling it a conspiracy theory because it's not.
Exactly. It's the truth.
We are so powerful, and if we knew the abilities that we have and how these psychedelics can benefit our lives and our minds, We'd be unstoppable.
Well, I even said as something I remember when I was talking to you, even just as something as simple as like when I went through my awakening about the world, and one thing that I found so interesting was that the only other people that would talk to me about it were weed smokers. I found that so interesting that it was, for me being able to talk about 9/11 or whatever it was someone else who smoked weed. It was like, yeah, man.
Because it opens your mind. It gives you that kind of gateway to be able to then go, all right, there is something more going on.
Yeah. And then you just look at how hard they have tried to stop that being something that people can get their hands on. And you're like, well, that's exactly why. I always think about the start of Pineapple Express. You know where they give the army guys like black and white video and they give Bill Hader the weed and he's like going on about fuck the system and they're like ban it kind of thing. And that's it. That's the truest like thing of all the psychedelic, any of these family of drugs or whatever you want to call them. They all have that a lot in common where they're like they seem to want to stop people being able to access things that allow them to access more of themselves because we're incredibly powerful. And, if you think about again, the people that have dabbled in that kind of stuff are the ones that are on the front lines and vocal against everything that's happening at the moment and the tyranny that we've been facing in the last 2 years. Well, that's exactly why, because we're like, holy fucking shit, we can see the writing on the wall. So thank you so much for coming on. I think we've got to smash out some questions.
Let's do some of these questions and then we'll wrap it up.
So I don't know if you've listened to too many episodes, but obviously every guest we have on, we have a set of questions that we ask at the end. Just to wrap it all up in a nice little bow. So question number 1 for you is, what is your favourite song of all time?
Dreams by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh my God, someone who didn't even have to fucking think.
Boom.
That's someone who's been through ayahuasca, had 8 grams, like she fucking knows.
I love it.
What a good song as well.
Amazing.
The Mac Attack is just, I'm very lucky that I was thinking about this the other day because I went back and listened to some Dire Straits. Have you ever
classic? Fucking nice.
My dad had such good music taste.
Yeah.
So growing up listening to Queen and Fleetwood Mac and Dire Straits and all of these like really, even like Buddy Holly and stuff like that, now that I'm older, I have a better appreciation for. But yeah, I love Fleetwood Mac and that's a great song. We normally let people, do you have a second and third that comes to mind? Just because people normally give us a few.
That's just the top.
No, I don't. I think I'm just going to stick with that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right.
Very good. All right, we'll hit you with question number 2. Who is your favourite comedian or comedic actor?
I'm going to have to go comedian actor, and it's Jim Carrey.
All-time
favourite.
He's so good. What's your favourite Jim Carrey then? Your favourite movie of his?
Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
You can't.
Oh my God. He's just so good. Yeah. What a powerful man in terms of just like what he was able to achieve. I think of him and because I'm a massive Chris Farley fan. Yeah. And I think of that kind of comedy type and just how no one's been able to do it even close since.
Yeah.
Like none of the comedy actors that you see these days are that kind of really intense.
It's the expressive emotion. That's what it is.
And they both of them did such a good job. And unfortunately, Chris Farley, may have also been narcotically influenced a little bit. But them two are the absolute standouts, and Jim Carrey has made such an incredible career for himself out of being able to do that so well.
I like Yes Man too, even though it's a bit of more of a mainstream kind of one. There's something special about it.
Yes Man. Yeah. I love it. It's got the Kiwi bloke from Flight of the Conchords.
Rhys Darby.
Rhys Darby is amazing
he's
as
funny,
well.
guys.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, everyone was calling him crazy for the stuff he was calling out?
Yeah.
Were they
Jim
really?
Carrey.
He is so...
Yeah, you've not seen the Jim Carrey stuff where they're like,
I've seen one interview where he does the triangle and shit. But
he's called it all out.
He's
amazing.
No shit. And that's why I think he was out of the... that Sonic movie he did recently was one of his first...
He did good.
He did amazing. But that was one of his first mainstream movies.
He was kind of cancelled for a bit because of the stuff he was bringing to light.
Yeah, it makes sense because he wasn't in for a good period there in anything.
He seems to have gone through a big awakening, the man.
Well, number 3, we're not going to ask her because you've obviously meditated before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have, but nowhere near as much as I should.
So that's usually the third question. Some people go some people go nah, but.
Was your first meditation experience before breathwork and everything else? Did you do that yourself?
No, my first meditative experience was through breathwork.
Yeah, wow.
So, then since then, I've actively done meditation.
Cool.
But it's not something that I do anywhere near as much as I should.
It's hard though. It really is. Like we were saying before, it's just hard.
We resist what benefits us the most, really.
Absolutely, Isn't that crazy? And that's what I think as well. We talked so much on the podcast, like, we're going to get back into meditation or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I went and did the breath work because, again, it's kind of reignited that feeling in me. Again, question number 4 is going to be an easy one for you, but I guess we'll still ask it anyway and see if there's one that sticks out in your mind. We normally ask, what's one conspiracy that you just categorically believe in? But I guess for you, who we clearly know does buy into a lot of them, is there one that sticks out as the one that was just like the thing that started your path, smoking gun, or even one now after all this time that's still like, how do people not think that this is bullshit or whatever?
So there's 2.
Yeah.
The one that started my spiritual awakening was the whole sex trafficking thing with children, like Hollywood.
Yeah.
And second one is the big pharma conspiracy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's really coming to
that's
full
really
circle.
coming to life.
Do you know what's so funny? So we're cleaning out my old house at the moment. I've just moved house, obviously. And in the corner of Winston's wardrobe, we found, well, I knew that was up there, but it was like behind a whole heap of stuff, probably 7 bottles of Johnson & Johnson baby powder.
Yeah, right.
Because we got them in every one of his presents, but we already knew the lawsuit they were going through and everything because we're fucking woke as shit. And so we just never used it. Never used it on him once as a child because we're like, well, they've literally been found to have cancer-causing chemicals. Why the fuck would we use that? And it was just today that I threw them all in the skip bin.
No shit.
At the old house. Because I was like, Erica, look, and we were laughing with each other because we were just like, but even now there's more and more. Like there was a particular type of baby wipe that I just saw a video on, like all the different chemicals that they use. Yeah. And we've used that for so long. You just, again, you can't know everything, unfortunately, but it's something you have to be so careful with. These companies don't give a fuck.
They don't.
And that's why it's been so mind-blowing for me that people have just been able to be like, yeah, fucking jab me up.
Go Pfizer.
Yeah, I'll do whatever. When like, if you even did, I don't know, 15 minutes of research into the companies, you would find, even on Google, the most censored fucking place on the earth.
It's also what they hide as well. Like, it's what they don't want you seeing.
Of course.
Like, have you ever heard about chlorine dioxide before?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. That's a rabbit hole you should definitely go down. I actually take it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
See, I haven't explored it much, but I have heard of it.
It's a bit like when I first got it, like started doing it, it's a little bit like, oh, you got to mix chemicals together and you got to do this.
So what exactly is it?
So it's essentially like the mainstream media will like demonize it, saying it's like an industrial bleach, but it's essentially what it does. It's like it's a chlorine molecule with 2 oxygen molecules, which makes it completely different to bleach. You know what I mean? And it just goes through your body and it oxygenates your cells. So essentially, like, you know how you've got like antioxidants? This does the opposite of that.
Oh, wow.
So it oxidizes it, and because oxygen is like really like corrosive.
Yeah.
So anything that's like the small bacteria and stuff and viruses that are living within you, they can't handle it. They basically get like wiped out.
Wow.
Yeah. It was quite intense when I first started doing it. I had it every day, only a very small dose to begin with, but every day for like a week. And then they reckon that after like your 4th or 5th day, all the bacteria and viruses and stuff inside you realize that they're being attacked, and they release like chemical into you. And I felt really sick, like flu sick.
Really?
Yeah. And they were like, but you just got to keep going.
And how did you feel after you kept going?
And then after I kept going, I was like feeling really good, but then I don't think I quite went hard enough. So now like, I've got more of it now, and I'm ready to like this time. I'm going to have like a month straight, because before I didn't want to run out and then be like, oh, I didn't do it right or whatever. Yeah. So I wasn't quite doing enough drops of it. Yeah. Whereas this time I know how far I can push my body, and I can stay at that level the whole time and really like purge it. But I did definitely notice I was a lot lighter in general.
Do you remember the Trump thing where they're like Trump telling people to drink bleach?
Oh yeah.
That's what the stuff is. So it's literally that stuff, and there's a lot of like,
Big Pharma have demonized the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Same as they have. I don't know if you saw. Did you see that thing I shared you? That current affair where they're like, oh, the Queen getting COVID, and now, well, at least there's this new treatment, and it was fucking ivermectin.
Ivermectin, I know. They're backpedaling so hard now.
I know. Everything.
It's just like, how can people not see through it?
Yeah.
I know, because they just do those little articles, and then unless you're like us where you're so perceptive, and people just go, oh, cool, new treatment. And they don't realise that the treatment that they're now trying to sell us is the one that they've fucking demonised.
The horse
The horse dewormer.
That Joe Rogan was using. It's just
insane.
It's nuts, hey? Or I guess then on the same vein, the next question is, what's a conspiracy theory?
No, we've already done that one.
No, that she doesn't believe.
Oh, yeah. Is that one that you don't believe in?
One that I don't believe in.
And you can't say flat Earth because that's what everyone says.
Yeah, no, yeah, something other than
That
flat
is
Earth.
one that I'm not on board with.
Yeah, me too.
Ooh, I think I'm gonna have to go that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be flat Earth. What do you think? Well, here's an interesting. What do you think about aliens?
Oh, they're 100% here.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
We would have to be so ignorant to
believe
that we're the only living things in this universe.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without
I
a
think
doubt.
so. I think that's.
I would love to meet an alien. Do you know some people in ayahuasca actually have experiences where they meet aliens?
Extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and like interdimensional kind of ones.
Yeah.
Dude, we're going to this fucking retreat.
This is definitely.
I know our inbox is going to get bombed up. Is this something that only you're able to do because you know the people, or other people?
Yeah, it's not something that's advertised.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, hit me up.
Yeah, so you can, but you can refer, because I feel like we're going to get some people like, dude, give me that fucking hookup. Obviously, we'd only recommend people that we think would take.
Oh, absolutely.
You need to be able to have, I feel like for something like that, like you said, you wanted to give yourself a bit of a spiritual. So if you've never had any psilocybin or even weed before or anything like that, and you've never had that kind of like, almost like training.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be going
I would
bullshit.
definitely suggest at least trying some psilocybin.
Yeah.
Even just a small dose in the lead up. I mean, some people can go straight into ayahuasca and not do anything at all. But I think it's a good idea to just
you have to go into it
prepare
at
and-
least so.
It depends on the
ready for-
person.
Yeah.
I did a lot of work leading up to mine.
Yeah.
And you have to be in a really good mental headspace.
Yeah, because then you don't want to have a bad trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you even
I wouldn't call it bad. It can be rough.
Yeah.
And
because you've got the people there to guide you through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you said, like I think you would even admit yourself, if you hadn't have done that prior work, it probably wouldn't have been. Maybe it probably would have still been as powerful, but it might have been way rougher.
Scarier.
Yeah. And there may have been more purging if my vessel wasn't as clean, or if I
And then you don't know how much that would have then affected potentially the good that you could have taken from it. So I think that's probably the best way to look at it, is like, if you think that you can, the kind of people that are probably going to be listening to this and interested are the ones that have more than likely had some experiences before. They're going to be like, oh, this sounds fucking incredible.
So we've got 2 more questions. Right, this is a good one. I reckon this leads in really well.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Ooh. I'm going to have to go with, don't worry about what other people think about you. I know it's so simple, but it's such a simple piece of advice that changed my life. Because as soon as I stopped worrying about what other people thought about me, I was like a different person.
Yeah.
I was living for myself and myself only.
Yeah. And look, and that's been probably one of my biggest things ever in my life. I went through, I've talked about this many times on the pod before, but I was so concerned about, I was so scared of losing friends and stuff as well. Like I was always just worried about what they thought and making sure they were happy with me and they were going to keep inviting me. And it was always about their opinions that mattered and not my own of myself and everything else. And I don't even know really what flicked that switch, but I know for certain when that switch did flick, it changed my life for so much for the better. So I think that is it's, again, simple is sometimes the best. It doesn't need to be I've got a 4-page piece of advice here that I read
some
before
fucking
bed.
poem. Like,
it can be that
But
simple.
that's quite often in a lot of things in life, isn't it? Like the basics, the simple things are really what at the end of the day resonate the most.
Yeah, live in the present, like we talked about earlier. Really, not just like really focusing on that and being like I think I consciously all the time when something cool is going on, I try to slow time down, as weird as that is, like to sit there and be like,
relish in it.
Just really, even I did it the other day at the house when we were all just like hanging out. We were playing that fucking stupid ball game. Beats were cranked. The sun was out. And I just try and like grab time and like just slow it down in that moment as much as I can. As to like store that as something like this is as good as it gets. You've moved into your new house. You're exhausted as fuck. You're being dickheads. You're having a beer. The sun's shining. It's just like you try and slow time down and really, I've done it at Unify every time we've been at those music festivals where you're just like, it doesn't get any better than this. Enjoy this while you can.
Exactly. We want to hit it with the final
question, the all-important, the one that we're all here for.
That's it.
Would you rather ethically fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Of course. But these ducks they've never had any spiritual awakening. They are in the Matrix.
Look at the pickpocket.
They're Agent Smith ducks and horses.
I'm going to have to go a horse-sized duck.
You're going the big duck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk us through why. What's the...
I just feel like I could give so much love to the horse-sized duck and make him turn really nice and just...
Wow.
Then I won't have to fight
No
him.
one's done the conversion therapy
one's done
before.
the
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like the monks in
I can do some breath work
Age of
on him.
Empires.
Oh my God, that's fucking great.
This giant duck's just laying down like...
Wait. That is so good. I always
rad.
wonder if we're
I
going to
like
run
that.
out of answers that are going to
They
blow our minds, but
they never end.
People keep bringing the heat. Well, a massive thank you to
Yeah,
you. This
thank
has
you so
been
much.
such an
Thank you for
incredible
having me.
episode. How do you feel? How do you feel now? You were nervous. You were
I
so
was
nervous.
I don't know. I feel good, but I'm like still nervous.
No, you smashed it.
Yeah,
you
you done
absolutely
it.
smashed it out of the park. We had to deal with some technical difficulties. I can't even speak.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
We made it through.
But we made it through,
did.
and we're here.
We did.
We are definitely going to get our boy Tyres to come and do a breathwork session.
Yes.
If you, I will share the page and your details on the podcast website. I'll share it on the Instagram. I'll link it on the Instagram. If you're interested at all, please contact us. Reach out to Breathwork Collective on Instagram. Do you have a Facebook page as well?
No, I just have Instagram.
Just an Instagram,
Yeah.
sorry. And is it just like breathwork.collective or
It's
one
the
word?
Breathwork Collective,
The-
all one word.
The
Yeah.
Breathwork
good.
Collective.
Yeah.
Find that on your IG. Hit up Tony. Talk about it with the people that you love. There's
Also get down to the
seriously-
cafe.
And get down
What was
to
that? What was the
Hibernian.
cafe called again? Hibernian.
Hibernian Cafe, yeah.
Get some international roast in your
Get
cup.
some international roast.
James is going to kill me for saying
Yeah, I
that.
know, yeah, he's
And
got
I'm
some
like,
bachelor's.
"Oh,
He's
He's
like,
got all
"How
this-
dare you sully the good
Yeah,
name
he's got all this
I
crazy
promise
ass
that
beans.
was good."
But yes, no, thank you again so much. And we'll definitely be having you on again later in the track to talk to us about even more of the journey, because the business is really only just starting.
It is,
Breathwork
yeah.
Collective, what, maybe 3 months into it now?
Since October last year.
Yeah, so yeah, 4
five-
months.
Still
five
far,
months,
yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you're already, I see your post about being booked out like ages in
Yeah,
advance.
That's so good.
insane.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
so
currently
good.
booked out to like mid-April now. So
That's crazy. So get in
That's
now, book in for May and onwards. And yeah, thank you so much again. It's been amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Peace out.